There are many, many ways to sell. You know, I hear people say, gee, I can't sell as much art as I used to because the recession came and people just aren't buying. But on the flip side of that, the market is now global. So there are more opportunities than ever. And in your own particular situation, you're going to make decisions about ways to sell that work for you. And they might be very different from how someone else is selling. It could be that you hit that great niche market that Wendy was talking about, and you run with it. I'm going to throw out a lot of ideas, a lot of options. I'm willing to take questions, and we're going to get started right now. So, how many ways can you sell your art? I'm going to give you just a few suggestions. Don't write these down, but just listen. You can certainly go to retail shows and fairs. You can sell retail online from your website. You can consign your work at art galleries. You can go to trunk shows, pop-up shows, other temporary venues. Sell out of your own studio at an open studio event. You can be involved in an art walk. You can take private commissions. Your existing customers can refer you to other customers. You can sell wholesale at trade shows. You can even have sales representatives if you are in the gift, accessories, fashion, or other markets that use representatives. You can sell directly to stores and galleries yourself at a wholesale level. You can license your art, which is contractually agreeing with manufacturers to use your artwork on products. You can submit proposals for making public art because the government buys art. You can sell wholesale online. You can sell retail on a third-party or print-on-demand site. You can sell through corporate art consultants. Is this starting to sound like maybe you should open your mind to some new possibilities? Let's talk about some of those. What's important to know is that today, I think this applies to everyone, but particularly to artists, but you need to create more than one way to earn a living. Do you see that in your own situation right now? The multiple streams of where you are bringing in income. Now, in her last presentation, Wendy was talking about artists who retail their art, and then they also sell into the wholesale marketplace, which is where they're selling to retailers who are buying in bulk and marking up to customers. Those are two complementary ways to sell, and they even out that income flow. So I have just made up an imaginary stream of income pie chart here. A given artist is doing about 60% of his sales at retail fairs, but he's also soliciting commissions, knowing that he can get a higher price for them. He's on the internet selling through his own website. He might be selling his originals, he might be selling reproductions, and he's also print on demand. A print on demand site would be an internet site like Fine Art America, could be Zazzle, could be Cafe Press, where your images are uploaded and they are printed onto many different products and sold by that vendor. It is technically a licensing arrangement, and you get royalties from that. So this artist might be making 4 different streams of income. Think about how many different ways you're selling your art right now. And you want to use income streams that are complementary. Now, what does that mean? Well, if I'm selling retail and I'm selling wholesale, they complement each other because different times of the year, I'm pursuing those different types of selling. They complement each other because when I go out into the retail marketplace and I find out what people really like and I know what my best sellers are, I then will be able to recommend them to my wholesale buyers, and I'll be able to make more of those products that people really love, and I'll be able to create stronger lines at wholesale because I've gotten that feedback from my retail customers. okay? So let's talk about the most inefficient way you can possibly sell art. What do you think that is? Yes?
Waiting around for people to come to you and say, can I buy something?
Oh, what? All right. Actually, that's different than the question I asked. It is true. Hanging around and asking people, do you want to buy something?
Or waiting for them to ask.
Waiting for them, yeah, that would be very inefficient. That's also poor salesmanship, but I'm going to give you a point for that. The most inefficient method or way of selling art, system of selling art, is for me over here, I'm making an original piece of art, and then I'm going out and I'm selling it. And then I'm coming back and making another original piece of art, and I'm selling that. So when each original is honestly starting at the drawing board, and then you're only selling originals, you are making them once, you are selling them once, and you have all of that labor involved. It's inefficient because you're not able to leverage your designs. If you want to scale up your business, in any kind of a business that you're in, you need to reach more people and you need to make more money on each piece, or you need to sell it many times. I could be giving this presentation right now to one person, but I'm speaking to 30 people. I have scaled this talk because I'm reaching many people. And if I was charging $10 for this presentation, instead of $10, I would make $300, right? Make sense? That's scale. So if you are an artist and you want to leverage your work, here's a couple different ways that you can do it. This doesn't mean that you should do it. It means these are options. Are they good for you? If you're a painter or a photographer and you want to make reproductions, that would be a way for you to recreate that same image over and over again. You may or may not want to do that. If you are selling high-end paintings in a gallery and you want to stay very exclusive and you're making a lot of money on those originals, God bless you, do it. If you feel that the reproductions will lower the cost of your originals, then don't. Reproductions give you an opportunity to not have to do all of the labor. When you have prints or reproductions, giclées made of your work, it enables you to spread your price points out and your products. If you go to a website like Fine Art America where they're printing all of these different options, they can order them in an 8 by 10, 11 by 14, 16 by 20, 18 by 20 for all the standard sizes. They can put them on note cards, put them on this, put them on that. You are able to sell that same image over and over and over. You might want to limit your editions. That is going to bump the price up a little bit because they're not quite so available. There is a production of 100, that's limited. When they're gone, they're gone. There are open editions. When you make a decision whether to do limited or open, know what you're getting into. If you have a fantastic photograph that is going to sell like hotcakes and you have limited it, you are limiting your income. An open edition might have been a better choice, even at a slightly lower price point. Another way to leverage is to license your work. Has anyone here ever licensed their work? Okay, virgin audience, good.
Oh, yeah.
You did? You did license?
I did.
Okay. Licensing your art means that you are entering into a contractual arrangement with a manufacturer, such as an art publisher or a manufacturer of goods, and they are allowed to use particular images for a particular length of time, usually 2 to 3 years at least, on particular products in a particular geographic location. It could be US, it could be worldwide. So that if I were going to license my art to be used on skateboards, I might have, an arrangement with Volcom or something like that, and I will earn royalties from it. The person who does all the work makes most of the money. When I'm licensing, I am working with them to get the designs just right. I'm going to have to be flexible. I'm going to make sure that I have what they want. They enter into the agreement with me. They manufacture. Their reps go out. They make the sales. The merchandise gets shipped. It goes on the floor. And I am paid royalties based on the amount that's sold. I might get 10% if I contract with Target or a really large retailer, 8% because they're doing large volumes, and so forth. Artists who license need to have multiple contracts. I know a surf artist out in California, 30 licenses, and he makes a very good living. 30 licensing deals. So surfboards, kids, backpacks, you name it. He's got all kinds of different licensing agreements going. If you want to license, you could work with a licensing agent who is someone who has all those contacts, and they will help cultivate you. It is very difficult to get licensing agents. They are swamped with artists who want to be represented. You could go to Surtex, S-U-R-T-E-X. It's in New York City in May, the same time the licensing show, the stationery show, and the International Contemporary Furniture Fair going on at the same time. Those artists are meeting with manufacturers who are going to license from them. And there's a lot of repeat business. There are some very famous artists who license, like Mary Engelbreit. Have you heard of her? How about Paul Brandt? He's a very famous licensed artist, okay? So that's a possible income stream. I know artists who license, and then they'll also sell their own work, but you can't sell the same. If you agree to license your image for a certain product, they have an exclusive. So you're not going to be selling that on that image on that product, and no one else is as well. Print on demand. Yes.
Where would you find a place to find contracts for usage for licensing?
For licensing, you can find general licensing contracts online. If you're entering into something you're really confident, you know what you're doing, you could go with your own contract. I'd suggest an attorney who's very familiar with licensing. You want to protect yourself, and you want to make sure you're not giving anything away. You want things written into your contract, like if they decide not to use your design, that within, let's say, 3 months of the beginning of the contract, that you are released from it and you can go license to someone else, and you're not tied up because you signed that contract and yet you make nothing. There is an art licensing expert, Maria Brophy, B-R-O-P-H-Y, mariabrophy.com. She's not an attorney, but she is an expert on art licensing. She's got a great blog if you want to read it.
Can you spell it again?
B-R-O-P-H-Y, mariabrophy.com. And she also does consulting. Super smart lady. She knows all about the contracts and what you should and should have in, should avoid, and so forth. Print on demand is exactly what it says. Those items are printed on the products and they're shipped out. I talked about them a few minutes ago. That is technically a licensing contract as well. Fine Art America is going to sell reproductions. You upload your images. They sell a 16 by 20. They're going to create it and ship it out, and you get X amount for it, $4 for it, or $20 for it, or whatever. And they'll have their prices on there. Here's another way to leverage your designs. Studio production. Now, when I was in business, I spent 20 years as a production ceramic artist. My work was ceramic jewelry. I sold in the wholesale marketplace as well as in retail. I had a line sheet of particular designs which were available to be made, the exact design to be made, and shipped to the stores. I had people working for me, and we were making the same designs over and over and over. I had a line of about 85 different designs, and the store would place their orders. We would ship to them, and then they would reorder and reorder and reorder as needed. As you build up wholesale accounts and those repeat customers, you're really going to grow your business because repeat business builds business. And that's one way to leverage that design by selling it over and over again, because you will be making that item. Let's say it's a mug, you'll be making that mug over and over and over again, shipping out to all of the stores. It is an incredibly efficient way to sell. Why? Because let's look at retail versus wholesale. And I have no problems with retail. I certainly retailed for many years. Let's say I'm a potter and I'm going to a retail show. And I'm going to make a new mug. And I know that I need to make a lot of them because I'm hoping that they'll do really well. So I make a dozen of my new mugs with this great glaze and I take them to the fair. Great, wonderful. I've spent the time and energy and money to make a dozen of these new mugs that I'm hoping will sell. What happens if I sell none of them? It's a bust. Well, now I've got 12 mugs that I'm either going to be marking down or maybe I'll be giving them as Christmas gifts. I don't know. What if I sell out? And then, gee, I've sold 12, but what if I could have sold 24 or 36? I do not know what my potential sales could have been. I could have been missing sales, right? All right, let's switch gears and go into the wholesale marketplace. I'm in a trade show. I have samples. I have one sample of each of my line in my booth. I'm a potter and I've made that new mug. I have made one. It's in my booth, and every time it gets ordered, I'm selling it over and over and over and over, but it's not leaving my booth because I'm taking orders from customers who come in my booth for their stores. What if that piece doesn't sell? Okay, it's discontinued. How many have I made? One. Very, very efficient. I've sold it over and over and over. And not only that, but seeing my wholesale orders, I can create a production calendar so that I know what am I going to be making in the next couple of months. I've placed my order delivery dates out so that I will stay busy. And I can also take into account that I've got retail shows as well. So that's a very efficient way to sell. The other great thing about wholesale is it's sold before you make it. Does that sound pretty good? And I'm getting ready to ship. I'm going to charge their credit card before it goes out of the studio. So I just got paid. Pretty sweet. It doesn't work for everyone. If all you make is one of a kind, you're probably not a good candidate for that. But if you are in the type of business where you can reproduce in quantity the same item over and over, you can become very efficient. I'm going to talk a little bit more about that later. So you could outsource your production. There are people who have their images placed on products, and here's an example of one. Robin Pedrero is a Florida artist. She's a watercolorist. Robin licenses her art, and she sells from her website, and she sells originals and reproductions at shows and fairs, and she has her work placed on products. Maybe you're a 2D artist, but are you limited only to selling paintings or reproductions? How would your work look on clothing? How would it look on shoes? You don't need to license to do that. You can have that done by manufacturers. Now over here, these silk scarves that are made of Robin's designs are made by Designer Scarves by Marlena.com. Over here, she's had a manufacturer who makes wallets and tote bags and key cases for her, featuring her work. She sells them at retail at her shows, and they're made for her to enhance the paintings that she's also got, broadening her market, broadening her offering, and her price points. Now, if you are going to work in making things in quantity, and Wendy touched on this, you're going to need to increase your studio efficiency. Because you've got that profit written into your pricing formula, you've got your costs and materials. So what you want to do as an artist these days is to use systems and technology. If you make something out of fabric, you're going to use patterns, right? If you are making something If you're making pottery, and these are some pieces that are at Campbell Pottery over near Edinburgh, Pennsylvania. Bill Campbell has gotten super efficient. The original is thrown or hand built. Then they make molds. They're molded for quick production. He has designed his glaze formulas to work so perfectly with the clay body that he doesn't have to bisque fire anything. All of his work is done in a single firing, which is super awesome if you're a potter, you know what I'm talking about. And so he is able to do things quickly and efficiently. What other tools can help artists work efficiently? How about laser cutters? How about 3D printers? How about a big old honkin' Epson printer right in your studio? I just bought 5 pieces of art from an artist in Florida who has a gigantic printer in her gallery store, and she can make it in any size that you want. And this is a way that you can be the manufacturer yourself without licensing, and yet you're producing in multiples and in bulk. Let's move on. Talk about those niche markets. Now, Wendy talked about the funerary market, which is an outstanding market, and I want to get a little bit more deeply into that. What is the perceived value when someone is very emotionally attached to something? When you can talk to your customers and reach them in a way that's going to really influence how and what they buy. I know an artist named Brigitte Mongian, and she is a sculptor. She works in bronze. Her work is expensive. She makes memorial sculptures. She got started because she was making sculptures of children and little nymphs and things like that, and for fountains, for landscaping. And someone asked her to make a sculpture of their child who had been 2 years old when he passed away. She got into the memorial sculpture business and has honed it down so efficiently and so effectively that what she does is have a very specific way that people will order a commissioned sculpture. They contact her. She has a conversation with them about the person who has died. Lots of photos, interviews the family or perhaps other people. If it's someone like a college president, they're going to do a bust, something like that. She gives them not only upfront sketches, but she has software where they can see it in 360 degree. They can see the entire sculpture all the way around. Numerous times she is on the phone with these people. They are paying prices starting at $20,000 for these sculptures. And there's a market for this. Okay? If you get into a niche and you are really good at what you do, and you are able to talk about what you do in a way that reaches people that really care about what you're making, you can name your price. Don't be deceived. Your customers don't choose you. You choose your customer. You decide where you are going to sell. If you decide that your prices are going to start at $900, then I would suggest that you start finding an appropriate audience. Who are those people? Where are they? You will need to find them. Don't go to the local, craft fair in the gymnasium if you're looking for a high-end customer. How many people here can say that at times they have done the wrong show? Yes, this is how we learn. There is absolutely value in researching and finding shows that are really appropriate for you. I worked with an artist in Canada who's a top equine painter up there. Does she sell at art shows? Never. She sells at horse shows. She sells at the Calgary Stampede. She sells at the big rodeos, and she sells at the horse shows where people who own ranches and grand champions take their horses. And her paintings start at $15,000, and that's her crowd. So understand the demographic that you want to approach. Who responds to your work, and who do you want to reach out to? And then, when you do reach your customer, I want you to sell consultatively. What does that mean? Well, I'm telling you, I'm a former sales rep. Any surprise there? I would tell people what to buy all the time, and they appreciated it. I would make recommendations because I knew that selling into their store, that I had to be responsible, that if things didn't go right, I had to fix it. So I would walk into their store and say, you know what, I really think that this would work well. And we had a relationship and they trusted me. Who is the expert on your own work? You are. You are in a position to make recommendations to people at both a retail and a wholesale level. I think that this painting would work really well in this particular room, and I would suggest this type of frame for it. People love that. They haven't got a clue on the frame that's appropriate, but you do. And that's why they appreciate your input, because you're the expert. You're going to sell your concept, right? You're going to talk about what is your work about. Now this picture here, you'll remember Sharon Satcher, who is the artist I showed you. He had a detail shot of his pottery. He's at a retail show, or I'm sorry, a wholesale show, and here's his display. This sign right here is saying, here is a collection of my work that sells really well together. This is a good collection for you to put in your store. And I recommend this as an opening order. And people buy it, just like that. They just buy it. As a sales rep, one of the things that I sold besides art, posters, and framed art was greeting cards. And I would walk into a store and say, this is a great line, it should work really well for you. Take a look at some samples, take a look at the catalog. I'm going to put in a 56 pocket rack, it's going to have a 2x2 footprint, it's going to have six cards per pocket, and the opening order will be $895. Sold. Why? Because they're buying the concept, they're buying the package from me. Who's picking the cards? I am, because I know the best sellers, because I'm selling consultatively. You can also do that, okay? You can make suggestions. This necklace goes beautifully with these earrings. I'm going to make a suggestion. You're going to display things together that go together as well. Talk a little bit more about that in a minute. I've mentioned spreading your price points on a number of occasions during these two talks. You want to be able to get greater market share and allow those beginning collectors who love what you do to buy in. Maybe they're younger and they don't quite have the income level to afford one of your large sculptures. Do you have smaller pieces? Dale Chihuly sure did. Are you allowing people to buy into your brand as beginning collectors? Okay? If you have a spread in your price points and you've got a really high-end, beautiful piece, it is going to help sell your lower-end work. If I've got a fantastic necklace, which is $800, and it's a real showpiece, and I display it with lesser expensive pieces of jewelry that are also, you know, my work around it, people really want that expensive necklace, but they're going to buy the $80 earrings instead of the $800 necklace because they're still going to get a piece of my work because they love things that are handmade by the artist and they can still afford something of my work. Okay? If you have work in a given price point, and I see artists do this all the time, and they'll say, yeah, well, I really want to increase my sales. And I make paintings that are like $200, but people won't buy them, so I want to make prints that I can sell for like $15. But wait a minute, what's wrong with this picture? Why are you only thinking in one direction? I want to know why your $200 paintings can't be $600. Because there's a market there too. Are you only thinking about discounting? I would rather see you raise your prices than lower them and approach a more affluent market. Okay? How about some other smart strategies? This is my favorite slide of all time, and I'm going to tell you the story about this and why this is so smart and why this is genius, and it's something that you can do. Aaron David is an artist who works with stone. He owns a business called Sea Stones, and he makes furniture out of stones, and hooks out of stones, and candlesticks holders out of stone, and he also makes napkin rings. Now when he makes his napkin rings, he cuts out a hole in the middle for the napkin to go through. So he ended up with all of these discs left over as scrap, and he threw in a box. And he didn't know what to do with this box of rocks until one day he found out that people who like to drink scotch do not like to put ice in their scotch because, number one, it waters down the scotch, and it also has minerals in the ice that are going to change the flavor. So if you're a real purist, you don't want that ice. So he created a product, and it's called On the Rocks. These are the waste products of his napkin rings. He has a handmade wooden tray for them. They go into the freezer. They get cold. You put them in your glass of scotch, and then you can pour the scotch on it without imparting any minerals and without watering it down. It comes in a box with 2 glasses in a pack. It's beautifully packaged. It's $34.99. He has bundled work together to make a great product with a great concept with a target audience. See how he did that? You can also do the same thing. I'm going to encourage you to bundle your work. Think about it. Do you have anything that you make right now that might go really good in a set? Maybe for Christmas you want to put together a basket of things. Maybe if you are a woodworker and you make cutting boards or sushi boards, why not combine that sushi board with some little handmade ceramic bowls for sauces, add some chopsticks, put it in a cookbook, bundle it together, mark it up. Let's say you're a fine artist. Well, how can I bundle? Well, I'll tell you how you can do it. Work in series. Why not have pieces that are in Giclées on a gallery rack, 12 by 12, and there are 4 items with all coffee themes that can go in your kitchen. I suggest that you price them as one. Instead of getting maybe $50 for each, you'll price 4 at maybe $180. Sell them as a set and make them force you to break them up. Raise your prices. Sell more. You can cross-sell. I'm an artist who makes leather handbags, but you're going to need to clean those leather bags, so I also offer some leather cleaner and conditioner, and you want to buy that at the same time. I'm cross-selling other products. Upselling. This is available in sterling silver. It is also available in 14-karat gold. That's an upsell. That is a service that I'm giving to my customer because they might truly want gold, or maybe they're allergic to silver. You can upsell them. Yes, this is available in a 16 by 20, but if it's not quite the right size, we can go to an 18 by 24. And this is a print, but I can have this framed for you for an additional cost. People like things that are already finished, ready to go, ready to give, ready to hang, turnkey. Make your products turnkey. And they will buy them. They appreciate that. And tell them what to buy. Be consultative. What else drives sales? Well, people buy from people, right? So you need to build relationships with other people. Networking is something you can do right in this room. This is a perfect opportunity for networking because you're meeting other people who are going to have resources and opportunities and other people that you should know. So I suggest that you trade business cards and get to know the people here and the other people in your community and let them know about yourself and your art. And you can actually work together. The way that you get started in networking, though, isn't really by talking about yourself. Anybody here ever go to a networking event? Like, you know the networking events, the business events? You know how they work? You walk in there, and some guy who's like a financial planner, he comes up to you and he says, here's my card, and well, how's your portfolio, and I can help you out, and let me give you a call, and you're like, please, get away from me, stop. So we don't want to be doing that. That's backwards. Going into a networking type of a relationship means that you are offering things to other people first. You're paying it forward by making connections in ways that you can assist others. Why? Because you can make a lot more friends in 2 months by becoming interested in other people than you can in 2 years by trying to get people interested in you. Why? Because what do people care about most? Themselves. Because it's all working together, see? So what can you do when you build a network of other people? Well, one of the things you can do is to create an alliance with them. If I am an artist who makes, let's say I make jewelry, and your name is? Andrea. Andrea makes handbags, I make jewelry. And we know that our ideal customer is pretty much the same lady. And we don't really compete. So she and I are going to help each other. We're going to be strategic allies. So we're going to be putting on an event, like a little home show together. We're going to go to a little boutique show. We're going to share a booth at a fair together. Andrea's going to blog about my stuff. She's going to recommend me to her email marketing list. I'm going to write about her. We're going to share each other's tweets. We're going to post on each other's Facebook page. And we're going to build our audience together because we have more reach. You can become a strategic ally with anyone. They don't have to be an artist. They could be your dentist. It doesn't matter. Someone whom you can help and who can also help you by referring each other, okay? Because referrals are like gold. There's nothing as good as a referral except maybe a repeat sale, because repeat business builds business, right? So we know that it is 5 times easier to sell someone the second time than it is the first time. Do you ever feel like you were making a cold call when you were making that first sale? You know how hard it is to make that first sale to somebody? You have to work so hard. Marketing means you've got to reach out to people 7 to 10 times before they even remember who you are. You've got to work it and work it and work it. But when you sell to the same people who've already bought from you, they already love what you make. And if they really love what you make, they might refer you to someone else or give you a very nice testimonial to put on your website. So you want to stay with those customers. You want to stay in touch with them. And the drip marketing techniques means you're going to reach out to them over and over and over. Drip, drip, drip. Because once those people remember you, they're going to have you as the go-to person. If what you sell are some great gifts for men, and in February they first see you, oh, that's okay, that's nice. Then, you've reached out to them on your email list in March. Okay, yeah, I remember this stuff. And then by the time May is there, I gotta get a gift for Dad. I love those men's items that he makes. I'm going to buy On the Rocks, or whatever the gift is. So you need to touch base with people on an ongoing basis. Okay, it's very important to stay in touch. They need to be reminded over and over. They are bombarded all the time with messages. So don't just reach out once. Do your follow-ups. Now the takeaways from this talk, and there are a bunch of them, is think about different ways that you can create streams of income. It can be pretty scary, especially if you're trying to support yourself to only depend on one. Sometimes you'll really mine one way of making a living, and it kind of stops working for you, and you need to have something else as a backup. Understand that building relationships is key. It starts in your marketing. It starts when you get to know your customer, when you listen to your customer, when you understand what they value. Because when you can make those connections with people, you can build relationships with them. And pay it forward so that when you're going out into a situation where you meet others, how can you help them? Do you have a referral for them? Would you like to pass their name on to someone who they would like to meet? Is there something that you have? You may only meet 1 or 2 people in a crowd this size who you actually are a match for, but that's a good result, okay? When you think about selling your art, are you stuck on only one format, one way? Are you only making fiber? Should you be taking photos of the fiber and selling them as wall art? You know, could you put your images on another product, either through licensing or through having it created for you where you're turning around and selling it? When you make your work turnkey and it's ready to buy, it's already packaged, it's ready to wrap, ready to ship, ready to hang, ready to wear, ready to give, people love that. They don't want to have to put together that gift basket when you've already done that for them. They love it. All right, you're going to increase the sales that you make and increase your profit when you make your production super efficient and leverage your business. All right, you want to stay customer focused. Everything is about them, and it's a privilege to serve your customers, because you know what, this is a really awesome business to be in. And it's all about making sales, and your customers are the ones who make this possible for you. So we want to honor them, and we want to give them impeccable customer service. In fact, today it's expected. All right? Create alliances with other people that you meet to help drive referrals. Spread your price points so that you can sell into new markets and so that you can start new collectors on your work. Tell people what to buy from you. Be consultative, and show your work. Like you looked at the in situ with the 2 images, the 2 prints above the sofa. Be consultative. These work perfectly together. Double your sale, okay? And increase your sales. Also, by cross-selling work, upselling work, and bundling things together, because people love to buy things that are ready to go. Do I have any questions about any of these? About 50 subjects. Are you all saturated and in a state of numbness and ready to become zombies? That happens too. Okay. No questions? Well, then I think it's a wrap. Good for the evening.